hello, and good evening to you all. How are you keeping? It is really nice to see you. And yes, I see you, Sandra. How are you? Thank you, Sandra from Nigeria. Thank you for tuning in. Wasame Hassan, where have you been? It took Ellen for you to show up here. I see. You guys have been lost. And Jackie, good evening. How are you? Wasame, you owe me a phone call. You know, you owe me a phone call for 2025. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We are happy and honored to have you this evening, and thank you so much for making the time to be here. My name is Grace Nzula. I'm a HR consultant with Atara Solutions. I host Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And what is Get It Right with Atara Solutions? It's a webinar series that seeks to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. We do this every Tuesday. Since 2020, we are actually on season 7. And guess what? All the sessions that we have already had are actually uploaded on our YouTube channel. If you're coming in for the first time, please go down there. It's called Get It Right with Atara Solutions. Please subscribe and get to just catch up with what's happening. The sessions you may have missed, there's quite a lot of information value because we bring in a very high end people who you would pay millions to see, like our speaker today. So we are very happy to have you. And so Atara Solutions is a HR consulting and training company. We offer HR manager outsourced for organizations that don't need a full-time HR or would rather outsource the HR function. And we also offer HR consultancy. If you're looking to review your policies, if you're looking to have job evaluations done, if you're looking to have HR audits done, then we are your people. And then we also offer learning and development. We have customized sessions for your organizations. We have open trainings. We also have offer coaching and team building services. And then we do recruitment and selection. You don't have to go through all those CVs. You don't have to waste your time going through all of them. We can take that burden off of you. That is what Atara Solutions does. Now, on Get It Right with Atara Solutions, I have hosts and a good support system. So we have my co-host, Richard Magoma, who I will allow to introduce himself. And then we have Jacinta as well, who gives us a lot of support. She'll also introduce herself. And then we have Catherine Sidandi, and I will get to introduce Catherine Sidandi for the wonderful job that she's doing. And I forgot to spotlight her. Yes, Richard.
Good evening, moderator of choice. How are you doing this evening? We are very happy to demystify learning and development tonight. My name is Richard Magoma, and I have a quote for you. A chief finance officer asked the CEO, "What if we train them and they leave?" And the CEO said, "What if we don't train them and they stay?" I am a public speaking coach and interview preparation coach. In case you need those services, you can talk to me. But tonight, we want to see what Judith Nasimolo has for us in terms of understanding learning and development. I once told a CEO that HR people, of course, I know there are so many people who are not HR, that they should be, by default, trainers. Let us see tonight if Judith will make us trainers. Over to you, moderator of choice, Grace.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. And yes, if you're looking for coaching and going for an interview, then you really need to get a hold of Richard. He'll prepare you. The panel will be shocked. And then, yes, Jacinta, you can quickly mention your name.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacinta. I work with Atara Solutions. And tonight is a learning night. I hope each and every one of us learns something new tonight. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Jacinta. And then we have Catherine Sidandi. Catherine, the next time I see you, you have to teach me how to introduce you in sign language, because I'm gonna say it in sign language and you're gonna speak. That is my challenge for this year. So you will do the intro as I do this. Yes. So Catherine Sidandi is our sign language interpreter. She's doing an amazing job, and we are really excited to have her here. Catherine Sidandi, do not fail to contact Catherine Sidandi for all your events. If you're looking to become inclusive, please don't leave some people behind. Make sure you contact Catherine Sidandi, and then she'll come and make you inclusive. It is really important that we also include those with hearing empowerment. Impairment for these sessions, because they also deserve to learn. So Catherine Sidandi, we appreciate you, we love you, and you're doing an amazing job, really. I normally just admire the work you do. I wish someday I'll become as fluent in sign language as you. The only sign language I know is the one that Catherine has taught me, which is to say my name is Grace, and also to say I am a HR person. Gosh, I need to style up. All right, so allow me to give a shout out to our partners. We have Nilefront Cottages. Nilefront Cottages is cottages located in Jinja, Uganda. Now, the Ugandans who are here and you have not gone to Nilefront Cottages, you have no idea what you're missing out on, because you're absolutely missing out. It is such a beautiful, serene place, and it's also run by one of our own. And if you're in Jinja, please pass by Skia Cafe. They have the most tasty ice cream, and that place is also where you will be served by those with hearing impairment. It's such a beautiful cafe, and their ice cream is out of this world. Please visit Nilefront Cottages and Skia Restaurant down in Jinja in Uganda. We have Profiles International. They are your people. If you're looking for people to support you in psychometric assessments, if you're looking to become a Genius Emotional Intelligence coach, then Profiles International are the guys who do that. We have K-Square HR Services. K-Square HR Services are our partners in Rwanda. If you're looking for support in Rwanda for all your HR needs and your training needs, then K-Square HR Services will be able to support you on that. We have Steadfast Quality Solutions. Steadfast Quality Solutions are our partners in Uganda. Steadfast Quality Solutions offer board evaluation and board training services. If you're looking to train your board, or you're looking to have your board evaluations done, then Steadfast Quality Solutions are the people you go for. And this is run by my very good friend Herbert Zake, who, courtesy of We Get to Meet Judith Tonight. And Herbert Zake is actually an executive coach who has coached over 500 executives. And it's a challenge to you to become 501 or 510. Herbert, you need to give me new statistics now. And that is what Herbert does. So do not get stuck. Do not wonder what you're good at. Do not wonder what is the next for you. Herbert is able to give you support along those lines. We have AAR Insurance. If you're looking for people to give you WIBA, motor insurance, your medical cover for your employees, then AAR Insurance would be your best bet. We have Hotel Sapphire. Hotel Sapphire is located in Mombasa town. Hotel Sapphire is one of those places. They have such a beautiful band on Fridays. Their food is amazing, and it is such a serene place as well. If you're looking for conference facilities, we just had our tea there last year in September, which was a hit. I can tell you that for a fact. And that place is just so beautiful. Their conferences are amazing. You need to check it out. And if you're looking for hotel transfers, then Hotel Sapphire would be your best bet. And then we have Tufaha Resort. Yay! Tufaha Resort is where we are heading down this April on 12th. I'll let you in on that. Tufaha Resort is a resort located in Nanyuki here in Kenya. Nanyuki is about 3 hours drive from Nairobi, and that is where we are headed on the 12th. You can check them out online. And then we have Panessa Training Institute. Panessa Training Institute is a carpentry school. If you're looking to understand woodworking, if you love doing DIY, and if you enjoy working with wood, then join us at Panessa Training Institute on Mombasa Road. And then we have Port Saco. If you're looking to invest or save for a saving circle, then Port Circle will be able to do that for you. And then we have Sotet Kinyumbani. Sotet Kinyumbani is one of my favorite restaurants in Nanyuki. They're actually selling food from their garden. It is very organic. They have such fresh food. I am telling you, if you're in Nanyuki and you have not gone to Sotet Kinyumbani, you have no idea what you're missing out on. Please visit Sotet Kinyumbani in Nanyuki town. And we are excited to announce the Get It Right with the Tara Solutions Road Trip Edition. This would be our second road trip. For those of you who joined us in Nokras, Sagana, you know we had a lot of fun. And this one will be bigger and better. We are headed down in Nanyuki on the 12th of April in the morning, and we are coming back. If you're coming from Nairobi, we will come back on the 13th. And if you're around those environs, you can just come. We have a conference in the afternoon, which will run up to dinner. So we have a dinner and a conference. We are starting at 2 p.m. for only 4,500 for those attending conference and dinner only. If you want to get transport from Nairobi to and from, we shall be offering that at 3,000 bob. And accommodation details, please get in touch with us. Please join us for this trip. It's going to be really amazing and an eye-opener for you, I promise. Your life will never be the same again. Please join us on the 12th of April as we head down to Tufaha Resort in Nanyuki. Now, for the moment we have all been waiting for. You know, I have looked for this lady for the last 1 year. I was told you are not doing L&D if it's not Judith. And I decided to pack L&D because it needed to come at a later date. But I am a believer of where you are, of destiny. You are where you were supposed to be. And the message for tonight is meant to be tonight. It was not meant for last year. And I'm glad that it has also come quite early in the year. So Judith is a learning consultant. And I saw somebody commenting somewhere. I was like, Grace, this is it. You cannot do better. This is it. And so I am honored to have Judith here with us. And she'll take us through learning and development, just understanding how can we create these learning programs and how can we do better in our organizations. Judith, karibu sana. I hope your Swahili is better. Karibu sana. And let's do this. Take it away.
Asante sana, Grace. My Kiswahili is very minimal. I understand more than I speak. I guess I'm shy to speak. I come from a country, Uganda, where we have a horrible history with Kiswahili, but that will be a story for another day. So like Grace gracefully said, my name is Judith Nasimolo. I am based out of Uganda. I've been in everything learning for the last maybe 18 to 20 years. But I spent the bulk of that time with an international organization doing roles in HR generally. So ranging from risk to employee relations, to retention and recruitment. But I specialized as a learning practitioner or specialist about 3-4 years into my journey with this international organization. I'm a certified professional facilitator with the International Association of Facilitators. I love saying I'm a CPF because we're not many in Africa, and we've been tried and tested, taken through the grind and refined. I'm the most informal person you'll meet, but I was in banking for the last 17 years, so it's made me a bit formal. I'm constantly creating, ideating. I did something called Strength Finder a few years ago. It helps you understand your personality and your behaviors. And I found one of my top strengths is I'm responsible, I'm an achiever, and I just love gathering stuff. So as a learning professional, as well as ideation, I love coming up with different ways or challenging my own thinking. So as a learning professional, it's come in handy. It's made me comfortable in my skin, but it has also made me a thorn in the side of most companies that I've worked for, because I have always had this sweet spot of I'm neither top management, but I'm not junior. I'm kind of in that sweet spot. So I kind of have my ear to the ground. And hopefully today, in your different hats that you wear, you get to appreciate your responsibility as far as learning and development is concerned. And then also maybe something more that you need to know about me. I am a human-centered design practitioner. So what that means is things like design thinking are something that I'm curious about, that I spend time doing. I love solving problems in a slightly different way. I don't have all the answers, and I don't pretend to be a guru, but I am comfortable saying that I have a lot of experience under my belt that helps me become the right person to go to help solution for whatever problems you might have in the HR space, in learning, but mostly around people. I do everything in honor of people. A few years ago, I spent time with a coach like Hubbard, not with Hubbard, but a coach like Hubbard, in my own journey as a coach, but also just to figure out why I'm on this earth. And I found out that I exist to help people recognize their potential. I will walk the journey with them, gather all the information that they need, give them the tools that they require, and then watch them go succeed. You cannot pay me enough for that feeling. So I guess that's why I stayed in learning. I know that I do not know all, but I also know there's so much to learn. I'm currently very tickled by AI, and I have made peace with the fact that AI is not here to destroy me, it's here to complement my existence. So it's one of those things that I'm excited about. And then besides that, I'm born in the same year as Tiger Woods, David Beckham, and Angelina Jolie. True story, I see your faces, some of you who are on the screen. So I'm a few weeks shy of my 50th birthday. I am in the company of greatness. If anything, it's the best year to be born in. And I guess, yeah, I'm destined for greatness. That's all I can say. So thank you, Grace and team, for inviting me for this session. When you mentioned that Richard is a public speaking guru, I shuddered because the number of arms that I have in my vocabulary, I'm sure he flinches every time he hears me say the arms. But it's nice to have people like Richard on the call because they keep you in check and they remind you that there's room to panel beat and improve on you. I'm an Arsenal fan. I love football, and I'm a rugby fan. For those of you who are not Arsenal fans, you can go, I don't know, hang yourself on a tomato plant or something. And then I'm a big Springbok fan. It gives me so much joy to see 22 grown-ass men running after an odd-shaped ball in short shorts. There's nothing that comes close to that feeling. So, but when South Africa is playing Kenya, I will support Kenya. And then I have a local team called Heathens who are having a bad run. In my next life, I hope I can come back as a rugby player. I think I have the physique for it. So that's enough about me. When you invited me to come and talk about learning and development, I realized that maybe, in all modesty, I just want to share a bit of my journey in terms of why some people might say I'm good at what I do, but just to give you, that's why I shared my story in terms of who I am and what my journey is. I'm in a period of my life where I'm reflective, I am humble, because I've almost spent half a century on this world, and I'm just taking stock of the stuff that I know and the stuff that I don't know, and I'm blown away by the opportunity the stuff that I don't know provides. I noticed a few familiar names in the chat. In the attendee list. Some of those people came through my classroom, and I remember going for sessions and designing sessions and also delivering them and being very keen on getting the feedback after I delivered the sessions because I wanted to know how it landed. And I always had a myriad of different participants in my classes or stakeholders that I had to deal with. And I'm comfortable to say that 99% of the people who have passed through any learning session I've delivered will tell you that even if they came for a retake, they never experienced the same program the same way. Because for me, innovating and having the people or the person at the center of what you're delivering is very key. So when Grace said, we need someone to come and talk about how can we make learning programs more effective, I was like, finally, for those of you who are key stakeholders in organizations, those who run organizations in one shape or form, I finally get to tell you where you're getting it wrong. And then I call out you employees, you professionals who feel, oh, the organization is not doing enough for me. What is your responsibility? And then I challenge my colleagues, the guys who are the learning professionals. What more can you do to help change the experience that people go through when they're learning. And then our HR colleagues, I always saw myself as an outsider. I was in HR for the 17 years I was with this organization. But I always felt like an outsider because I got to see the stuff that HR was doing wrong, but as part of the process of improving the stuff that could be improved on. Now, the analogy I'm going to use, based on my experience, is imagine we're going on a road trip, and I liked that Grace mentioned there's a road trip to Nanyuki. I've never been. I look forward to going there. Imagine we're going on a road trip. There's always different people in the car. Now, in the case of this particular session, we have HR, who are the GPS. They'll kind of they'll tell us we are going to Nanyuki and this is the direction we're going to take. And then the car we're going to Nanyuki is, let's say, Mercedes-Benz G55. It's my dream car. It sounds like a lion when you start it. It just has the most amazing sound. So imagine we are in a G55 Mercedes-Benz, silver in color with black rims. That is the company. So the guys who manage the budget, in there you have your CFOs, like Richard had mentioned, you have your CEOs, you have all these key stakeholders who are decision makers, senior management. So those are the car. So remember, HR is the GPS. We're going on a road trip. The car is the company or the G55. And then we have the employees or professionals like yourself who are part of an organization of some sort. You're the passengers. So you're seated in the G55. Hopefully it's a big G55. And then we have the learning professionals like myself. We're the guys who look for the snacks. We're the guys who want to make things fun. We'll say, guys, we're taking pictures. If Nanyuki was near the border, near the equator, would be taking pictures at the border, of the equator. Nanyuki is next to Mount Kenya, I think, isn't it? Thumbs up, Grace, if that's the case. So we'll be taking some scenic pictures near Mount Kenya. We, the learning professionals, are the ones who say, guys, we're going to have fun. So these are some of the things we're going to do. This is the itinerary. So have that picture in mind as we go on this journey. Now, the reason why a lot of learning sessions or programs do not hit the mark with a lot of people is there are very many roadblocks along the way. And I'll tell you what the roadblocks are, but also who's responsible for the different roadblocks, and also suggest ways we can get past those roadblocks. It's a very simple solution. Remember, we have HR, we have the company, we have the employees who are the passengers, we have the learning professionals who are the people who kind of deliver whatever needs to get delivered. So keep that in mind as we go along. In my case, the most powerful program in the most recent past that I remember that was so effective, we were tasked as a learning team to to design a virtual program for 169 new management trainees globally. So they are located in different countries. And our mandate was we need to design as a 4-week program. It runs every day for 5 days. And it's going to be run purely virtually. We are going to have case studies in there. We're going to have speakers in there. We're going to have learning instructional sessions in there run by facilitators. And we're also going to have self-led learning sessions for these individuals. Now, I don't know what your experience is, but a lot of management trainees, and no disrespect to them, are Gen Zs at the moment. I'm a Gen X. I'm almost clueless about what it is like to be a Gen Z. And the challenge there is they are tech savvy, they're excited, they have a short attention spell, and they're looking for the next exciting thing. So a group of us, about 8 of us, were in a squad and we were asked to design this program. And all of us were tasked to find a Gen Z who is forward thinking and just find out what the feeling is like of learning and everything. To cut the long story short, we were able to come up with a program that was so competitive, very immersive, very engaging, and very different from anything we'd ever tried out as learning professionals. Most of us who were on this squad were 10 to 15 years with the organization. We thought we knew it all. And what it left us with was an appreciation for things like AI and the value it adds to our lives as HR practitioners and learning professionals, but also the fact that there's so much we don't know, that if only we stayed curious, we would know more and we would touch more lives and make our lives better. So over 4 weeks, these individuals met different leaders across the organization. The key objective was to get them onboarded in a way that makes them ready to hit the road running. And that's a challenge for most companies. At the end of 4 weeks, they were able to seamlessly join whichever department they were part of across different parts of the world. Having never met myself one of the facilitators, and I think one of the things I took away from the session was, please don't hold a program too close to your heart that you're so emotionally invested in it that you're not open to improving it, or you're not open to trying out something different. But also, some stuff will fall through the cracks. Some things will fail miserably. Pick yourself up and move on. And that's just a word of caution in terms of some of the things to consider when you're delivering, when you're creating and implementing effective learning sessions. But going back to the 5 stakeholders that we had, if you agree with me as I run this, that there's a disclaimer I want to put out there. If you agree with everything that I say fully, that's on you. And if you have a different opinion from anything I'm sharing, I celebrate you. So I think I'm being a politician, but I'm just saying, you know what? It's my point of view, and I would urge you to embrace it. So remember, we're on a road trip. We're in the G55, which is the company. We have HR giving us directions. They're the GPS. We have the employees or professionals like yourself who are the passengers in the car. And then we have the learning professionals like myself who are providing the snacks and making the fun, the whole excitement in the journey. Most organizations will see learning as a tick box experience and will see it as a cost center. And I'm sure most of you who have sat in HR or who are HR practitioners, you'll have had some of your CEOs or CFOs saying, these things of training programs, learning, that's a cost center. You're just draining money. There are bigger things to think about. And most organizations, I think, look at learning or training like a gym membership. You paid for it, so it must be working. However, spoiler alert, and most of you who have signed up for gym membership will realize that just because you paid for it, it doesn't mean it's actually working effectively. I have a gym membership that runs out in July. I am appalled to say I've been to the gym, I think, twice in the last 6 months. But I shall go in the last 6 months to finish my money. And then the other blocker that we have is yourselves, the professionals, the passengers. You're hoping for snacks. You're looking for learning that is relevant, that addresses your needs, but half the time you don't know what your needs are, or you don't articulate them. Some of you do not know where you're going in terms of what your future looks like. Some of you are living with the insecurity of, oh my God, will I have a job tomorrow? And it's just all these things happening in your mind as an employee. You're not looking for lectures on what to do. You're looking for something that engages you, adds value, helps you do your work now and do it well, but also sets you up for a career in the very near future. So something that you can use now, but also take away. Most learners or most employees will ask, if you ask them about their last training session that they attended, I think it's an important point to watch how they respond. Some of them will be like, huh? What training? Now that is a red flag for you. It's saying that you have a lot of work to do as either an HR professional or a learning professional or as the owner of the company. And it's a good problem, but it shouldn't stay too long. You need to address it. Now, going to the other blocker, which prevents programs from learning programs from being effective or just having an exciting learning journey, is HR. You remember GPS? They're trying to keep everyone on track. Now, for the longest time, most of the HR practitioners I've encountered are focused on, they know that learning is crucial. It's important for organizations in terms of future, but they sometimes will see it as a cost. They'll say, oh, budget, how much time is there? And they may also have resistance like other passengers in the car for whatever reasons. So HR, as much as they are the GPS, they need to give us directions. They may not realize that employees will get tired of waiting for HR to have the right amount of money and the right time to curate the right learning programs. They'll bypass HR and go straight to the coffee machine and find their own learning interventions, or just decide, you know what, I won't do any kind of learning. And then finally, my colleagues, the guys who are trying to make the journey fun and worth it, we do not usually have a budget of our own, unless you run a learning or a training facility and you have some kind of budget. But if you're embedded in an organization, very many times people are looking to you to come up with practical, interactive, and engaging sessions. And all this, regardless of the amount of resistance you're getting from above you, around you, and below you. Because this is what learners are looking for. They're looking for stuff that is exciting: simulations, games, role plays, discussions where they get to interact and share their opinion. So as learning professionals, I think you have the hardest job, because you're not only handing out snacks on the journey, you're trying to make sure that the snacks are healthy, enjoyable, and they don't make a mess in the car. You remember when at G55, we can't have crumbs on the chairs? Hello? So I'm yet to meet a snack, or I'm yet to encounter a snack that is healthy and yet tasty. Maybe I haven't tried every snack, but that's our job as learning professionals. We are tasked to provide the snacks on this journey, but it's so tough because you can't meet everyone's need. You can't give healthy, you can't give fun, because people's needs vary. What am I trying to say? We're all wearing different hats in terms of responsibility, and we all have a role to play in terms of making learning engaging and fun and effective. So gone are the days where you look to the company and say, I want you to train me and then I can do my job. What is your role as an employee or as a professional in that space where you are delivering a task or a service for a particular entity? And then for decision makers, what are you making decisions on? Are you cutting costs right now at the detriment of value to your employees or your staff or your people within the organization? At the cost of engagement, at the cost of fraud and poor culture within the organization because you do not invest in the right intervention at the right time. And then, of course, for HR practitioners or HR GPS, maybe you've taken on too much. You might not be the best people to give direction. Perhaps you need to be collaborating more with the people who will help you have a united front in front of your key stakeholders. That's just my take on that. So the tail end of that is, so, okay, now I have highlighted the roadblocks. What do we need to do? For organizations, the G55, the Benz, the beautiful car, where you're having people in there saying, the CFO is saying, we have no time, we have no budgets. Stop thinking about those interventions as cost, but think about them as an investment. It's easier said than done, but keep the long view in terms of, if I have the right people, they have the right skills, they are in the right environment, they will deliver. Human beings are straightforward. Yes, there are a few outliers, but the majority will want to have what is required to be able to do their jobs and provide what you are paying them for. I've had people say, I mean, like what Richard said at the beginning in terms of the CFOs, the dialogue between the CFO and the CEO about you'll train them, but can you retain them? If that is your big worry as an owner of an organization, you have missed the point, because if you don't train them, they'll still leave. And if you train them, yes, they may leave, but it will be a harder decision for them to leave because there will be, there's a, in some cases, there'll be an emotional, like an emotional debt they have to the organization that has made them who they are. I mean, I stayed with this organization for 17 years because they were doing something right. Most of my colleagues who joined at the same time left for different reasons. So retention is a whole other story, but it's a variable that can actually be managed if you have the right learning interventions for your people. And then also measure the learning. If you don't measure the return on investment, especially for those who have the task, the learning professionals, the HR folks, the organization as a whole, it's like having a gym membership that you forgot to cancel. You're paying for it, but you're not getting results. So if you can't measure it, if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, then it becomes hard to measure it. And then if you don't measure it, then you're not getting the value from or holding people accountable for how much you invested in them. I think it's a two-way journey that can actually add benefits to an organization to help it grow. For employees or professionals like myself, like yourself, yes, there are several learning interventions out there that might not feel like they are relevant, that do not align to your career goals or address your immediate challenges. Maybe you need to speak up more. You need to share your feedback in terms of what is relevant. But also, perhaps you haven't explored everything that's available. So employees who don't train end up missing out on having the right skills to do their current job, but also skills that will take them to the next career, or get them the promotion that they're looking for. Then for HR, for the longest time, you've been known as people pleasers. You want to please everyone, which is not possible. You're caught between the employee and the organization. And there's research to say that half of all HR professionals struggle to offer personalized training to meet individual learning preferences. But I know organizations that have cracked it. They have invested time in things like needs assessment, trying to understand the needs of their people. So they'll invest time in, this is the strategy we want, trying to put out. Everyone is involved in some shape or form. And then what are some of the needs that come from that strategy? Where are we lacking? Where do how do we leverage on both? And then what is available? What else haven't we tried? If cost is still top of the mind, there are still cost-effective learning interventions that you could consider. I'm a big advocate of something called Udemy. One of the organizations I was working for had Udemy as one of the learning platforms available through Edcast. And you just needed to find time to learn everything and anything. I remember, I'm currently subscribed to it on an individual basis, but when I was with this organization, I had a business account. I signed up for architecture. I signed up for woodwork because I was curious. I mean, you ask someone to do a wardrobe for you and they get it wrong. There must be something I can learn that will help me appreciate what the fundi has done or challenge them to do something better. I did stuff ranging from Krav Maga, the beginner course of Krav Maga. That's the Italian, the Israeli martial arts. In my next life, I might come back as Mossad. Who knows?
Judith, we have lost you. Judith, you have disappeared. Grace, are you able to hear Judith?
I thought it was my end because everyone went froze. So I thought it was me. Richard, can you hear me?
Very well, save for Judith.
Oh, she's coming back. Her audio is connecting.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, maybe I was talking too much and I got thrown out, but I'm back. Here I am. So I was just saying that there's so much to learn. There's no excuse as an employee, as a passenger in this G55 to choose what the learning you need to help you right now and for your next role. And then I think I was talking about the different stakeholders and how they can begin to compete in terms of wearing their different hats and their responsibilities as professionals. For HR, like I said, you need to please everyone. So you need to be open to feedback, but considering different options. For learning professionals, yes, you don't have the money or the resources to create this stuff. How can you be creative with what you have at your disposal? And also challenge yourself to have the right conversations with the key stakeholders and influence them to invest in the stuff that will add value to the organization. Many times, if an organization is not making profit, it means that there are skills gaps. It means that there are disengaged people. It means that the people who are not who are not the right fit for the role. So there's an opportunity for you as learning professionals to challenge the different stakeholders to address those particular organization-wide challenges by considering different interventions, which in one shape or form equip, improve, but also challenge or build the culture you're looking for to help you deliver. So my call of action to all of you on the call, you might be an employee, you might be an organizational head or a key decision maker, you might be an HR practitioner or professional, or you might be a learning profession in one shape or form, facilitators, trainers, and everything else. For organizations, please see training or learning as an investment so that when someone comes to you with needs, your bottom line or the thing that's going on in your head is, I'm going to put money, but I'm going to get value. It might not be immediate, but I can influence how quickly I get value. One of the things I encountered in the last 2 years was there's something called a leadership agreement. Now, one of the organizations I worked for was struggling with disengagement across different layers of the organization, and they were blaming the people leaders. So it turned out that the people leaders, the majority of them, were ill-equipped to do their jobs, and some of them were not leader material. So there's something they came up with called the leadership agreement, and it's a set of behaviors that you assess yourself against, and then you say, for the stuff that I don't have, these are the things I'm going to do. Now that leadership agreement is shared with other folks who are outside yourself as a leader, and they hold you accountable. So your own leader, your peers, and the people below you. I just thought that was one of the effective tools out there that would help an organization see investment on something as simple as a leadership agreement. So my call out to organization is stop treating learning or training as a cost center or as an expense. Or a gym membership that you forgot, start seeing it as an investment. And then for employees, remember that the passengers in the car, take responsibility for your own learning. If the program doesn't fit, let's make it together. So that means giving feedback to the different stakeholders in one shape or form, even when the feedback is not asked for. Don't wait for the next boring session to pass, because I kid you not, you will die in that class, or you will die, or you will lose out as a professional. Then for HR, amazing colleagues, you have a sweet spot, you're a connector for the employee needs as well as the organizational goals. So my challenge to you is champion personalized learning experiences. You have the ear of top management because most times you sit within that crowd, but you also have the ear of the folks on the ground. So find a way of getting everyone talking to each other and meeting each other halfway. And then for my colleagues in learning, create programs that are engaging, interactive, and relevant to everyone's needs. For the longest time, I've been one of those people who create programs. The most recent one I created based on needs that I found out. There was a client I had who is based out of America, and she has a team that she runs in Kenya and Uganda, and she wanted to do something virtual. Now, the team on the ground needed different skills as part of the role that they play in the different locations that they sit. These particular individuals deal with mental health patients in America, so they will provide psychotherapy and stuff like that. And many times they're drained. Sometimes they'll have feedback that they don't communicate well, they don't show up on time. I mean, basic things, but they're affecting the client who is responsible for all these people. So I was tasked to come up with a remote learning intervention that touches different things. It was quite challenging, but my golden thread or my true north was I needed to keep these individuals in my ear telling me what their experience is, what is their perspective, and also the client, what are they looking for, and then finding a way of meeting the two needs in the middle. It was one of my most challenging assignments, but it was exciting because one, you get to tap into parts of yourself that you're not aware of, but you also get to appreciate that sometimes the best interventions are the simplest, like having conversations or like having role plays that sound very basic, but they go a long way, or having case studies that challenge someone to go and have a self-paced, self-learning event. So you give them a set of instructions, they have a week to go and do all these things. And come back and are accountable to a group which then presents to the bigger group. So in a nutshell, for you to have an effective learning program, have you addressed the needs? on the ground. So needs would range from skills, knowledge, attitude, the culture, for the people who are going to be benefiting from the learning. Is it cost effective? Is it worth the investment? Is it accessible? We're moving away from delivering all our learning in the classroom and doing things like this where we meet virtually, or it's a hybrid. Part of it is virtual, part of it is in person. It could be a conference, it could be I don't know, a reflection section, it could be coaching. So besides being all those, is it relevant? Is it timely? Is it giving you return on investment? Can you measure it? Are you clear on what the metrics are that you're trying to achieve? And can you measure the value that you've gotten after you have delivered this learning program? So in a nutshell, I hope that answers or gives you something to think about. Like I said, I was leaning very heavily on my experience as a learning professional, but I hope it can leave you thinking about what else haven't you tried? Where are the opportunities to collaborate? I have a colleague called Harriet. I don't know if she's on the call. She's one of those people that I've worked with for donkey years, and she was in service. I was in HR or learning, and we keep bouncing ideas off each other and learning from each other. And then I see other colleagues on the call who were either in operations or in HR or in finance. And it's amazing where the skills sit. One of the programs I'm very passionate about is Train the Trainer. If we had people who were running these learning programs in the best way that they know how, but keeping track of the golden frame of how to deliver an engaging learning event for or learning journey for adults, we would have more interesting and more exciting learning interventions. So Grace, I'll stop there and open it up for questions if there are any. I hope you got value from this as a group, and I'm open to answering any questions in the best way that I know how.
All right, Judy, thank you. I kept smiling, and I'm just thinking to myself, okay, so I am here, been told to run with training. How do I measure ROI?
So I saw that also in the chat. How do you measure ROI? There are training sessions on how to measure ROI. I attended one and was left more baffled than most of the people on this call. And I figured out very quickly that learning objectives is a starting point. If you're designing a learning intervention, what are you trying to achieve? What is the what? And then what are some of the metrics that can help you achieve those objectives? I am trying to upskill all the leaders, 100% of the leaders in this organization to have 1, 2, 3 skills. How will I know that they have achieved those skills? They'll attend the workshop or they'll attend the learning event. They will complete a leadership agreement. So the completion rates, and then I will have a 360 feedback loop within the when they go back and embed the learning, either halfway the program or at the end of the program. What are their peers saying? What are their leaders saying? And what are the people below them saying? And then using things like engagement scores. A lot of organizations are investing in engagement tools where they measure people's engagements. Do I have the tools to do what I'm supposed to do? Does my people leader know, or my manager know how to create the right environment for me to thrive? And you can use the different metrics in an engagement tool to assess the effectiveness, for example, of leaders, but also of individuals. Behaviors, are there behaviors you're trying to embed? Are you able to measure them? Can you get someone to come and assess whether the person has actually embedded those behaviors? Is there a change from the person, from the point when they joined to the point where they left? The programs that I'm particularly passionate about are those that have a pre-learning part where you come, you contract, there's self-awareness, you note down what are the things you want to achieve, what are you committing to, what are you being held accountable for, and then the middle part where you actually learn, you engage with the content, you participate in different activities, you're part of, it could be, what are they called? Competitions or activities that assess application of what you're learning, and then the end phase. So any program that's 3 phase that has pre, in, and then after the learning, where you get to apply the learning, but other people are giving feedback about how you're showing up. If we do that for as many of the learning programs that are out there, it's a step in the right direction. And then there's a group of people that we don't talk about a lot, who could actually measure the learning effectiveness for us. The bigger companies invest in learning operations. So these guys will gather attendance, something as basic as attendance. They'll seek for feedback on different internationally acclaimed matrices. They will share things as random as response rate. They'll share things like feedback and how it shows up in terms of peer against peer. So people who attended this program, out of 10, 8 of them are doing exactly what we invested in, and they're actually delivering as required. So in a short way, I think there are different ways we can actually measure return on investment, but it involves everyone. The company should come up with things that they hold dear to their hearts to show that the things that they invested in are actually returning, giving returns. It could be tellers in banks. Are there fewer error rates? Is there zero rate fraud? What is the customer experience matrix saying? Or what's the net promoter score saying? What is the leader engagement or leader suitability rate score saying? There are different tools out there. It's just deciding for yourself, what are we trying to achieve? How can I measure these things we're trying to achieve? And then compare the two.
Thank you, Richard.
Very good. I love your energy. And this is the question I'm going to ask you. You mentioned as we are en route to Nyanyuki, inside our Mercedes, there are these things that we do not want them to drop, but they are dropping from bread, from chocolate, things like CEO saying, that is an expense. I don't want to use a lot of money. I mean, we were drained and we didn't see any benefit. How do you deal with these droppings, these crumbs that are falling in our Mercedes Benz?
So in my experience, what I saw working perfectly well was if you, let's say, attended particular learning interventions. For example, as a leader, I spend most time with a lot of leaders in the organization, leaders of leaders, leaders of businesses, and then leaders of people. One of the things that there was something called a leadership benchmark assessment tool or something that if you are trained for so many hours, you have committed to particular things. If you fall short, you could have something as random as a performance improvement discussion. There were consequences to not meeting particular behaviors. If the feedback loop came back, the 360 feedback loop came back and showed that you are falling short, so there'd be red, amber, and then green. Green, you're doing very well. We will celebrate you. We will recognize that you're doing all these amazing things. If you're amber, there's room for improvement. You're given 1 or 2, 3 things that you need to focus on. You're given a timeline, and there are consequences for not meeting those timelines or doing the things that were agreed on. And then if it's red, there's questions around your suitability for the role. There's questions around your attitude. What's the best intervention at that point? It could be something like, as extreme as a disciplinary, as extreme as disciplinary action, or a performance improvement journey to make you come from a point A to point B so that you're meeting the standard. But also, I saw things like putting a carrot to entice or motivate people to do the right thing or to learn. So you'd have credits, for example, ranging from shopping vouchers to access to the CEO, things like mentorship opportunities, things like short-term assignments to different destinations, in the spirit of celebrating and incentivizing people to do more of the good stuff so that you have less crumbs in the car. It's not foolproof, but it's definitely a step in the right direction to get people doing what is expected of them. What I saw work very well was when employees had an opportunity to be part of the design process of learning interventions. So the needs assessment and actually them seeing that you take the process seriously, conversations from the top to the bottom and bottom up, so that everyone is speaking the same language and understanding why are we doing this. So by the time a CEO is saying that I have invested money, he has his finger on the pulse in terms of what is needed, and he's also able to hold the different parties accountable along the chain. And then the individual understands where the CEO is coming from and why the focus is on this kind of things, and is able to apply themselves. But like I said, human beings can be complex. It's not foolproof. There will be some gaps, but those are some of the things I would suggest.
Thank you very much. There is Wafula who is asking, what does it mean to learning, unlearning, or relearning? Or is this just a fancy phrase? Then there is Kenneth Yegon. How do you make virtual sessions more engaging, given that you do not know or you are not seeing the people you are training?
Okay, so let me start with the first one around learning, unlearning, and relearning. In the spirit of the changing landscape, especially with the digital journey that all of us are on, regardless of the industry that we're part of, there are things that we need to know to do our job now, so you need to learn. And then there are things we need to unlearn. So the stuff that was relevant in the past that got us to this point, that will not be relevant going forward being even in the next week or in the next month, you need to shed some of those things. So things like, we've always done things this way. If I could think of an example, because the generations in the workplace are changing, we have millennials, we have Gen Zs, Gen X are endangered, baby boomers have more or less left the workspace. There's that whole dynamic around managing the different generations and their needs. So if you've always managed in a particular way, you need to unlearn, for example, just giving instructions and expecting people will respond to those instructions. You might have to have a discussion. So it means unlearning, giving instructions. You can find a more creative way of giving the instructions. And then relearning is completely, or reskilling is taking on something you do not know that you need now and for the future. I mentioned AI. Last year, I was very intentional about something called Canva. It's an AI tool that helps you design everything from a poster to presentations and stuff like that. At the time, we were only 48 of us who put up our hands, and I just was so curious about this new way of doing stuff. Every time I'm in Canva, I am so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I wish the whole world was on Canva. But it's a personal choice for me to upskill myself on this AI tool. Recently, I was helping my niece do her assignment, and she was supposed to come up with a folk tale about a jungle or something. And I was so excited because I got to chat GPT, put in a very good prompt, and I got out this amazing story. And we did change the names to African names and everything else. I designed an image that I used as the anchor of a workshop that I was running, and it was all around challenging thought and creating discussion. And it was just a prompt in Chat GPT to generate this particular picture. So bottom line, what I'm saying is there are skills we don't have that we need, that we know that we don't have. Then there are those we don't have that we don't even know that we need, but we need to now begin to realize that we need to survive in this world. I'm going to be here for the next 50 years. I'm planning to do 100. So there's so much I don't know. So I have to reskill. So learning, unlearning, and then relearning or reskilling. And then the second question was around engaging people remotely without seeing their faces. If I have control of the learning session, I try to keep the classes small. So the ideal number would be 18 to 20 for remote engagements, so that it's more intimate. You have conversations with individuals. I am lucky to be able to remember people's names. So my brain has a tricky way of just helping me remember names. So I will call out names. I will throw in quizzes. I usually have riddles. I usually have fun activities that get everyone involved. And then there are also rewards for getting your video on for as whatever time you can put it on. But between you and me, if I was to choose between remote engagement and face-to-face, I would choose face-to-face any day, unless I am pushed, unless I have no choice. I just feel as human beings, I have learned over time that we thrive when we engage on a personal level on a face-to-face basis. Remote engagements rob that experience from the learning experience. But
Thank you very much. There's a question by Mary Kamahara. She's asking, training diverse groups, how do you ensure that you are effective and sustain the tempo in terms of monitoring and evaluation of the groups? I'm thinking of what she's saying, maybe training interns and probably highly advanced people in a group. How do you monitor this?
So when you mentioned diverse, I also was thinking of people who are differently abled. I never engage a group of people without trying to find out about them before I actually meet them. So I invest time and energy in who's a human being who's going to show up in front of me, or who is trusting me with engaging them in a learning experience. So I'll find out random details like how long they've been in whatever they've been doing. If anyone knows about some of the interesting facts about this person, I will try and find out as much as I can in the time that I will have. I try to keep an open mind, especially when everyone is in the same place. I will have different activities to engage the different types of learners or participants in a learning session. I was lucky to be trained by someone who was a big advocate of something called VAC. We all have different learning preferences as adults. So there are those who learn visually, there are those who learn they learn by hearing, there are those who learn by reading and taking in the content and researching, and then there are those who are kinesthetic who learn by doing. I'm a mixture of both, of visual and kinesthetic. I like to see, but I also want to try out before I can say, okay, I have learned it. And for any intervention that I design or deliver, that's one of the golden threads that I follow, that every learning preference is catered for in one shape or form. It's quite exhausting, but the value is so much more than how exhausted you feel. I've had classes where I've had learning interventions where people give feedback that there was too much energy in the class. Oh my God, the noise was on another level, and they were ruffled. So we'll have reflection times, we'll have something as random as just personal time where you actually spend time thinking about what's your need, has it been addressed, what is your action, and things like that. So bottom line, it's just remembering that adults have different ways of learning and catering for the different diverse groups. One of my most challenging group was I had a 2-hour mentorship session with visually impaired students. And it was tough because I had never designed content for individuals who are visually impaired. I was lucky to work for an organization where we had a colleague who was visually impaired. So I leaned heavily on his expertise. But it was one of those sessions where you show up and you kind of go with the flow. You have to be very vulnerable in terms of what you don't know, but also show willingness to meet your learner at their point of need.
Thank you. There is Sandra who is buttressing what you had said earlier about how to measure the return on investment. She's saying, Grace, there is a formula for measuring ROI, which all L&D and HR should know. It is net training less training cost multiplied by 100%. That is the ROI, which is financial. We have return on expectations, which is purely strategic and performance impact. That is, Valentine, as a learning professional, how do we convince managers and senior leaders see the value of mentorship and coaching programs as part of employee development?
Okay, I'll answer Valentine's question. Mentorship for me and coaching in the workplace or in any area where they're professionals is crucial because it's one of those quick wins in terms of passing on skills and knowledge in a way that is learner or individual driven. For coaching, the individual is able to have this safe space to unpack what they think is the issue and frame it in a way that is going to help them solution or contribute to the solution to their dilemma. When they're in a non-coaching setting or in a training session, they're receiving all this information. I think coaching gives an opportunity for the individual to be part of the solution making, but also even skills building and unlearning, relearning, and everything else. Mentorship is such a golden opportunity, especially where the right people are matched to get the most out of the experience. I'm a big advocate of mentees choosing their mentors. You cannot force mentors on mentees. Mentees are the people who get mentored, and then mentors are the people who are actually mentoring. You have this person that someone looks up to who role models the things that they want to be, and they get to hear from them. You don't have to drive this person to learn from this individual. They're already self-driven and they'll take themselves there and learn as much as possible. So if an organization wants to take it to the next level, having mentorship programs where they offer opportunities for people to match with people whom they can learn from, but not force it on them, and where you can leverage on coaching, especially where you have been doing all these amazing learning interventions and you have reached a ceiling on how much you can benefit. Coaching is like the icing on the cake, and it just helps sustain, it helps just take things to the next level. Yeah.
Thank you. There is a question by Edna Rono. Any courses, certifications that can make an LD practitioner competitive and expert in this area? And then there is Esther Kangede. How do you determine the kind of reward to give best performed staff?
Okay, so let me start with the second one. What kind of reward do you give the best performed staff? In my case, what I saw really work was if individuals were given opportunities to have a short-term assignment in a job that they dream about. It could be within the same organization, an opportunity to learn from people who are slightly more advanced or more where the person gets to be stretched, but they feel like if I hadn't performed, this opportunity would not be on offer. Also, things like promotion, things like being placed in a talent pipeline where they are fast tracked towards their dream career. And in there, you can have things like mentorship, you can have career discussions, you can have coaching as well, and coaching ranging from one-on-one coaching to skills-based coaching where they're dealing with an expert who's helping them pick up particular skills along the way. So it will vary depending on the organization, how deep your pockets are, how creative you are, and the individual also, because not everything will be seen as a reward by different people. Besides that, certifications which make you a more attractive or a more experienced or professional L&D person. L&D is diverse. There'll be things like talent management, there is facilitation, there's coaching, there's everything. Now, depending on which area you'd like to either focus on or specialize in, you'll have coaching certification, you'll have, and there are certificates, there are diplomas, there's different certifying bodies that you can be part of to become a certified coach. For facilitation, there's IAF, International Association of Facilitators, or other organizations that are similar. IAF is American, they're British ones. There's CIPD, Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, where you have personnel, you can specialize as an L&D professional. There's ASTD, there's so many. So I think it starts with, what do you enjoy? What do you want to develop? And how can you get certified in that area? The beauty is now a lot of the certification is done online, or there are opportunities for you to take the online option. My most recent certification as a coach was Facet 5. Facet 5 is it's a personality traits certification, and I did it online for 8 weeks or 6 weeks, then did a whole bunch of coaching sessions under Facet 5. I'm now a certified Facet 5 practitioner. So I help people understand their traits, whether they're leaders or not leaders. What does it mean for their long-term goal? So in a long-winded way, what I'm trying to say is, what do you enjoy? What do you want to focus on for your own career long-term? And what are the options available? Those options are diverse. It just depends on what you want.
Thank you. There is a question by Hudson Shiverenge. He's asking about training needs analysis. Does it really ensure individual objectives are met?
So that's a wonderful question, because it's one of those areas that I've always felt is not given enough attention, and it really comes down to who's in charge and who's driving the message. If organizations are very clear on what their strategy is, that message is cascaded down to teams, the teams agree on how they'll meet that strategy, and then do an assessment of what do you have, what don't you have, what do we need to focus on. Then you'll have a collective voice in terms of, if we invest in this, then the whole organization benefits. You have L&D professionals doing the needs assessment process in different ways, with different results. I feel that if it starts from the top, where the message is very clear in terms of what are we focusing on, what are our objectives or goals, pushing that down to teams, down to individual level, and everyone feeding upwards and saying, okay, for us to meet this strategy, these are the things we need to focus on. And then those can become organization-wide focus areas. I've seen it work with leaders where an organization decided that they need to have leaders who were, they could self-manage, they understood their responsibilities as people leaders, but were able to also communicate effectively. They're able to coach, they're able to give feedback and receive feedback. So there were 5 areas they needed to be good at. And the organization focused on that for the leaders. And then for the next level, there was a set of 5 things that they need to achieve. So it's a collective. I think it works effectively when it's tagged to the key focus for the organization. So it's coming from up, cascading down, and then guys from the bottom are feeding up in terms of, this is what we think will work for us. Can we have collective agreement and then focus on those things for the year or for 5 years or for 10 years?
Very good. There is a person who is saying that she missed the part on mentorship, especially in the health sector. If you can throw in some wisdom.
So I am a big advocate of mentorship. I feel that a mentoring relationship should not be forced on individuals. It's a wonderful opportunity for people who are, for example, in a leadership pipeline, or if you're trying to upskill or motivate individuals within a team to either shape up over a fixed period, getting them people that who are role models of what they'd like to be, or learning from people who are more experienced than them, who might be more skilled, whom they look up to. It beats getting this poor and putting them in a classroom. Yes, there's value in attending learning programs and being in a classroom, but the mentorship relationship is powerful on its own, because an individual ends up being self-driven. They are accountable. There's personal accountability because it's something they want, they see value in, and they drive the conversation, they drive the journey, usually 6 to 9 months or to 12 months, depending on how much time you have. In the health sector, even, it would be powerful because it's not as expensive as a lot of the learning interventions out there, but the value add is amazing. You have people who are learning in the moment from someone they look up to, and because you're not forcing them to do it, it sticks and they want to apply it. And then they also want to learn more. Yeah, that's what I've seen in my experience.
Thank you. There's a question by Ida Dean. What parts of training employees do you find most rewarding, and what are the most important skills for training specialists? Then there is Christopher. What do you think of bonding?
Bonding post-training, post-learning?
Yeah, the one where if an organization takes you for a particular course, should you leave before? That one, yes.
I am conflicted because I spent a lot of time in HR. I understand why organizations would bond an individual whom they have invested in. But also as a learning professional, I just think it's redundant. If I want to leave as an individual, even if you force me to stay for, 3 years to get your return on investment, I could choose to sabotage you and just sit and be a picture for the next 3 years. Is it serving the purpose? I think you're creating more enemies than actually having advocates. And I think it's missing the point in terms of trying to retain this talent. There are other ways of getting them to commit to being with you than having a formal process where you bind them to a particular period. But I can understand where organizations are coming from when they say they're going to bind you because they've invested. So that's my take on bonding. And then what are the areas that I enjoy in training? I love spending time with female leaders who are junior and are not yet in the leadership role, but are now going towards leadership. I get joy from just seeing the light bulb moment when they realize they have potential. And just giving them the tools that they require: personal branding, self-awareness, dealing with their self-limiting beliefs and everything else in between. But I also try to remind women that they are employees first before they are women. Yeah. And they must do their part in order to show up in the workplace and not be positively discriminated against because they are female and stuff like that. I also like dealing with talent, people who have been identified as talent, not necessarily the high performers, but these guys who, let's say, are very good at what they do, but they never get to be seen. Or most organizations will refer to them as either critical resources because their skill set is unique, or they are co-contributors. Without them, the ship could break. Those guys have so much to offer. If only someone would spend time with them to help them realize their potential, and help them unpack what they feel they need to unpack, and then get what they need to get ahead. And then finally, the new leaders. It's nice to spend time with leaders who don't have egos, who are new to the field, are hungry to learn, hungry to do stuff well. The guys who are leaders of leaders, no disrespect to them, it's a whole other story, unpacking their egos, unpacking their experience, and making them realize they still need a lot of help in one shape or form. I think the skills that make you a very good L&D person, or someone who can navigate the troubling area of learning: ability to listen, ability to be vulnerable, ability to keep questioning and saying what else, and just developing a thick skin, because very many times you'll hear no a lot, but you should be able to influence the people who are telling you the no so that you get them on your side. And being authentic. We can never be the same. We train differently, we show up differently. If you're authentic, people will appreciate you for your authenticity, and they'll come around to appreciating the value you have to offer. If you try to be like someone else, it becomes very hard. I think one of the skills that has really worked for me is the ability to listen and suspend all judgment. Because let me tell you, in the learning profession, the kind of people you deal with, it's amazing that you don't lose your mind. Yeah, sometimes.
Thank you very much. Here's the last question as you prepare for your parting shot, and give the mic to Grace. Can I, Richard, come to Uganda and mentor you, or are you coming to Kenya and be the gender dynamics? That is the question.
It is possible, but there's a caveat. It's important to be aware of some of the pitfalls in the mentoring relationship. Contracting at the beginning of the relationship is very clear, so there's no ambiguity. Being able to communicate what your needs are as a mentee, but also understanding what the mentor's responsibility is, where the buck starts and stops with them, and then yourself. So those things need to be put into consideration. But I know that it's possible, for example, to have Richard, you mentor me from Kenya, and then vice versa. It's also possible to mentor virtually. I have mentored people as far as Singapore, people I'd never met before. So I know the value of the relationship. I hope that answers your question, Richard.
Yes, there is a question I'm looking for by my good friend Matthew. Let me look for it, please, because he has reminded me. Matthew is asking, could you please address the different approaches of conducting a training needs analysis as a way of curating an effective learning program?
So, I mean, Conducting a training needs assessment will range from one-on-one conversation with key stakeholders. Usually my guideline is I have a set of 7 questions around what the focus or goal is for the year. So they're usually working templates in different organizations. And then where is the gap as they see it? What is being done, what is not being done, what are the outcomes you're looking for. So many times it will be a conversation with HR, a conversation, let's say, with the CEO, conversations with select number of employees that represent a particular sample size, because you can't talk to everyone. And then assess that information you're getting and then dig deeper. So besides the template that I would ideally use, I actually will have focus groups thereafter with the different samples, come down to a summary of what is coming out of those conversations. And all this is usually guided by what is the strategy of the organization or the client or the person who is driving the needs assessment. Based on what you're finding out, is it aligned to what the organization is focusing on? How can we make both parties meet each other halfway? And then the outcome of that process will determine what are the 3 or 4 top needs that are coming from the conversation, which ones are priority based on the strategy you're trying to achieve. What are you going to tackle first? How will you measure the outcomes? What needs to be in place? Do you have interventions that you already have in your kit? Do you have to design? Do you have to buy interventions? Do you have to bring in external staff to come and deliver those sessions? I'm lucky now that with a lot of free time on my hands, I get to determine where I spend most of my time. So I'm happiest when I spend time, an organization or a client contracts me to walk a journey with them over a particular period. And then I am able to leave them with at least the stuff that can keep them going and sustain the learning thereafter. Yeah.
Thank you so much. In Kiswahili, especially in Nairobi Kiswahili, we say umeiva, meaning you're so right in this particular.
Thank you.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Sana.
Over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Richard. And I am looking forward to a session with Judith physically. I think I would really focus because I'm one of those learners who get lost very easily. But I have really been listening to you and enjoying this session because I love the energy. There's something that has been left out. There's somebody who's saying, how do we manage the dwindling budgets and creatively come up with training?
Okay. I think it's a moving target, and thank you for that question. Organizations are becoming cost conscious. I'm sure you're seeing so many layoffs along the way, in the spirit of just cutting costs and staying lean and relevant. The one thing I have found out is that training will never be irrelevant. It will always be critical for an organization, regardless of its size, regardless of its focus. I think it's having the power to influence the key stakeholders and appreciate the value, but also being able to articulate the different things that come out of training and having a budget for training. It helps understand where the organization is coming from or the key decision makers. So you can also influence the process by finding out what else is available that might not cost as much, that will add as much value. I think the conversation becomes more attractive for a CEO who has to make a decision or a CFO when you're showing that you are cognizant of cost as a big issue, but you're also suggesting something that will complement the cost. Many organizations are becoming awake to the fact that if you don't spend, you won't earn. And training is one of those things that remains one of those things that they'll have to invest in. So one, it's an ongoing conversation. It must involve all the parties. The power to influence the key stakeholders is very key. Being able to articulate the value, but also what the need is and what will address that need and how everyone will benefit. I think those are the things that are crucial. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that was an important question because of budget right now. Guys, please join us on the trip to Nanyuki on that Mercedes. Okay, I don't know whether we're just going to be using a Mercedes, but we shall try and makeshift our own Mercedes and figure out how that goes. However, Judith, if you can give us your parting shots.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to have been part of this session. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm happy that there are people out there who see the value of L&D and are curious about L&D. I don't think there's enough of us out there who would change the perspective of organization. So we need more people to be ambassadors, to be champions, to be practitioners of learning. I know that all of us with our different strengths, different personalities could add value to just how we deliver learning interventions. I'm actually considering running a pro bono train the trainer sometime in April. I'll send a shout out to you, Grace, and then we can have more people appreciating that they actually have the skills. For me, the benefit will be seeing people realize their potential and actually apply their different flavors to how you train or deliver a learning session. Just get the word out there. So yeah, next time I'm in Nairobi, or if you invite me, I will definitely do something. I saw someone from Tanzania. Yes, shout out. Do send me, just invite me. And a few folks in Uganda. But I think learning is exciting. If you choose to be a learning professional, it's a sweet spot because you'll always have the ear of both parties, and people will want to hear your feedback. They'll want to get your input. So if you're looking for attention, if you're looking for an interesting space, I think it's one of the best jobs to do on this earth. That's it on my part. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity. I'm absolutely humbled. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
People are asking, how do they contact you? In fact, there is Ida who said, I'm in Uganda. How do I get in touch with you? And of course, my good friend Simon from Tanzania is saying, Grace, you've forgotten contact. So how can we contact you? You can put that on the chat.
Okay, let me just put my email on the chat, if that's okay, Grace. Is that okay?
Yes, please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, then I'm also putting my WhatsApp number. I'd be keen to hear from you. And yeah, let's be part of a wave of change, a wave that just influences lives. Thank you. And the next time I'm in Nairobi, I'll look for Richard for a public speaking mentorship cleanup.
Let me repost your number because you sent it to hosts and panel.
Okay,
there you
please
go,
do.
guys. There's Judith WhatsApp number.
Grace, one other thing. This is a shout out to Catherine. If I was speaking too fast, my apologies. It's amazing having people like you do what you do. It's a skill set that is very rare. And I think all of us need to learn sign language. It's no longer a nice to have, it's a must have. So shout out to you.
I totally agree. And she's doing an amazing job. And Catherine, I'm sorry we take you for too long, but thank you for doing this. We really, really appreciate you. So thank you so much, guys. And I hope that, that this has been impactful. I am a fan of L&D. I love L&D. And I hope that, first of all, we need to kill death by PowerPoint. That's number one mission. Like, we need to let people know more that the more the words on a slide, the worse it is. We don't get anything. I think that's a message that we need to also put out there. And we appreciate you, Judith, and looking forward to the April session. We'll definitely bring and a good number of us to that session. And also, if you're in Nairobi, please, let's have tea, let's have coffee. If I happen to come down to Uganda, I'll definitely look for you so that we can just have a good laugh. Yes, and a very good friend of mine plays rugby for the Uganda team, for the nationals. Yes.
We need to continue this conversation outside here.
Yes, we do. All right, so thank you so much, guys. Please join our WhatsApp group. Jacinta has put in our the link to join our WhatsApp group. If this is your first time and you want to know what's happening around Atara Solutions and all our partners, we normally share everything on the WhatsApp group. Please join us. Next week, we shall be celebrating women. So the topic next week is going to be dedicated to International Women's Day, which is on Saturday this week on 8th. So next Tuesday, the topic will definitely be something around either inclusion and especially celebrating the women in our lives or in our workplaces and just being able to empower all of us. So that is the topic we are looking forward to next Tuesday. And we appreciate you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Catherine, for a good job. Thank you, Jacinta, for showing up. And thank you, Team Atara. We really appreciate. Maston from KPLC, thank you very much. Always amazing to see you. Thank you guys, Team Uganda, Team Tanzania, Team Rwanda, Team Nigeria, and everywhere who is represented here. We really appreciate that you got the time to be here with us tonight. Asanteni sana, and see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, as we discuss empowering the girl child. I don't know what the topic will be, but we are bringing the entire East Africa, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. Yes, we're going to have 4 panelists. I need to make contacts in South Sudan. That part of Kenya is missing out. Richard, that part is missing out in our webinars. We need to do something.
Yeah. It is possible.
Yeah.
You remember our 50 years, it's possible, yeah.
Yes, it is always possible. So yes, we shall do something about that. We'll work towards that. So thank you guys. And I know we can be here forever. Asanteni sana. See you next Tuesday. Do not miss out. And thank you, Judy. Asante and good night.
Good night.